Mu Fei testifies. Su Yingxue immediately threw off the blanket, pulling it over Chu Yihan's head. Humph, I certainly won't miss it. Her little feet left a series of thumping sounds on the floor, and by the time Chu Yihan cast aside the blanket, she had already changed her clothes with incredible speed. She stuck out her tongue at Chu Yihan with a triumphant look. Even you can be slow sometimes. Humph. Was she someone who would quietly endure repeated bullying? Absolutely not. A devilish streak flashed through Chu Yihan's eyes. Once today's affairs were dealt with, he would naturally let her know if he was truly slow or not. Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue entered the palace, heading in the direction of Funing Palace. According to Chu Yihan's plan, under Qin Ruli's suspicion and investigation, the identity of Princess Xiaohua should have been clarified. But someone had entered Funing Palace before them and turned the situation around. In front of Funing Hall, Mu Fei paid his respects to the Empress Dowager and others. The Empress Dowager narrowed her eyes slightly. Are you the master of Shilu in the ghost market, Mu Fei? On Mu Fei's effeminate face, a seductive smile surfaced, replying to the Empress Dowager, this humble one is indeed Mu Fei. Previously, the news of Princess Xiaohua was traded by me to Lord Lu Tai and sold to him. By his side, Lu Tai hurriedly admitted, Empress Dowager, this humble servant has been searching for the princess bloodline for many years and dared not neglect it. This time, it was also verified that the princess indeed ended up in the Great Qing dynasty, giving birth to Princess Xiaohua, who was then picked up and raised by the Shen couple. However, that Shen couple just slipped up, saying that Xiaohua is their own biological daughter. How do you explain that? Qin Ruli asked sharply. Lu Tai, feeling the pressure, trembled. He looked towards Mu Fei for help, as it was from Mu Fei that he had bought this information. Mu Fei had assured him with conviction that the person they found was definitely the real princess bloodline, and he had believed it to be true, never expecting such a situation to arise. Mu Fei, however, remained calm, replying to the emperor, this Shen couple are of humble origins. To have the fortune to see your majesty's face is the blessing of several lifetimes. Naturally, they would be frightened. Look, both of them are still shivering. Shen father and Shen mother lay prostrate on the ground, not daring to lift their heads. Seeing all eyes turn towards them, they immediately started to cry and beg for mercy. Emperor, spare our lives. Please, spare us. In front of them knelt Shenyu, wiping away her tears. In her heart, she had already cursed her biological parents 800 times. These fools. Her wealth and honor were about to be ruined by their hands. They deserve to die. I know I come from a humble background and am unworthy to be a princess. If the imperial grandmother and imperial brother doubt my identity, there is no need to trouble yourselves. Please allow me to resign, Shenyu said, covering her chest with a fragile appearance, looking pitiable to anyone who saw her. The Empress Dowager, deeply affectionate for her granddaughter, was already distressed beyond measure, but on the matter of blood ties, she was resolute. Don't cry just yet, the situation is not clear. If you truly are Zheng Heir's bloodline, the Empress Dowager will certainly grant you a lifetime of glory and make you the most honored princess of the Great Wei dynasty. But if you are not, it would mean deliberate deception. The imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty's bloodline must not be sullied. Shenyu trembled all over, disbelieving. When the Empress Dowager had doted on her, regaining her had been like retrieving a precious jewel, cherished so much that even the slightest wind was not allowed to touch her. But now, Emperor, you previously mentioned you suspected someone else to be Zheng Heir's bloodline. Who is that person? Grandma, be careful. Calling her to appear will allow us to confirm her identity, so we can tell who my true granddaughter is, the Empress Dowager stated with utmost seriousness. Qin Ruli had just received a message from his aide and immediately said, Imperial grandmother, she has arrived and is currently outside the hall. Summon her at once. The Empress Dowager was very urgent. Qin Mayan's gaze also hurriedly shifted toward the entrance of the Great Hall. Chu Yihan entered with Su Yingxue, their hands entwined, silhouetted against the backlight, making everything else around the mere backdrop. This was an exceedingly beautiful scene. The man, clad in white robes, moved with an ethereal grace, his aloof abstinence akin to both an immortal and a demon, yet his eyes were filled with doting affection as he looked at the woman beside him. The woman, dressed in a pink silk gown, radiated stunning beauty intertwined with playful charm, especially with her smiling visage. Zheng Heir, my Zheng Heir. The Empress Dowager's eyes widened, and she rose from her couch, running towards Su Yingxue heedlessly, almost tripping in her haste. Imperial Grandmother. Imperial Grandmother. Qin Mayan and his brother hurriedly followed her. Grandmother, please be careful. Su Yingxue stretched out a hand to support the Empress Dowager, instinctively calling out, Grandmother. Perhaps it was because the old lattice kind and benevolent eyes made her feel a sense of closeness. Grandmother. Grandmother, the Empress Dowager said with tears brimming in her eyes, it's true, there's no mistake. You look exactly like my Zheng Heir, exactly the same. You must be Zheng Heir's daughter, my granddaughter. Qin Mayan was particularly delighted. Yingxue, you really are your highness' cousin. Indeed, my suspicions were not unfounded. Qin Ruli was also very happy. At the entrance of the hall, it was a harmonious scene of family recognition. Inside the hall, however, there was a chilling silence. Shen Ye's heart seemed to shatter, clutching her chest forcefully, her lips turned pale from biting. How could this happen? Why her? Su Yingxue. How could it be her? Why not her? Didn't you once notice your resemblance to her and even harbored thoughts of climbing up the social ladder through her? Mu Fei's cold laugh was heavy with mockery. How do you know? Shen Ye's face was ghostly pale. The man before her looked like a woman, every aspect of his behavior was odd. You needn't worry about how I know. If you want to maintain your title as princess and secure your future of glory and wealth, then listen to me, do as I say, or I guarantee, in just a while, you will meet your end, he whispered menacingly in her ear. He stepped closer to Xinyu, his voice chilling as he smiled. How well did the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty treat you before? Once they find out you're a fake, that you've deceived them, they will execute you most brutally, including your parents and family members, as well as those several brothers of yours who are still in the Great Qing dynasty. They will all be executed by Ling Qi. Don't. Shen Ye's garments were already soaked with cold sweat from her back. Whether they live or die doesn't matter to me. I don't want to die. I still want to enjoy this life of wealth and power. I still want to marry Brother Mayan. Qin Mayan was the man who had captivated her at first sight. How could she concede him to Su Yingxue? Su Yingxue was already the favored daughter of heaven, the 9th princess consort, so why did she have to come and steal what was hers? Why did she have to take her identity and status? She was detestable. Remember your wish, and when the time comes, act accordingly. Mu Fei took the opportunity to slip half of a jade pendant into Shen Ye's hand and then returned inconspicuously to his original kneeling position. When the Empress Dowager ran, everyone in the hall followed suit. Aside from the Shen family parents and Xinyu, no one noticed his actions just now. Mu Fei continued to kneel upright. Mu Fei's trick. Mu Fei maintained his unhurried composure as he stood up and sighed softly. The imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty, misrecognizing their own flesh and blood, now even attempting to wrongly slay their own kin. If this were to spread, who knows how the people of the world would ridicule us. Ha! His light chuckle echoed throughout the hall, laden with sarcasm. Su Yingxue's eyes narrowed slightly as she rose to her feet. Are you implying that I am an impostor? Indeed, Your Highness the Ninth Princess Consort knows the truth in her heart. Now that you have a prestigious status, why bother coming to Great Way to stir up trouble? The true bloodline of the eldest princess is to be pitied, Mu Fei said, his eyes full of pity as they rested on Shinyu. Shinyu immediately put on a fragile appearance and began to cry behind her hands. Mu Fei, what conspiracy are you hiding? From the moment Su Yingxue first saw Mu Fei, she felt that he was bizarre beyond belief. But his bewitching and seductive eyes were impenetrable, their meaning elusive. I am but a commoner, what schemes could I possibly harbor? I have only been paid in silver to fulfill a deal from start to finish. Your Highness the Ninth Princess Consort, do you claim your identity as the daughter of the eldest princess based solely on your face? Mu Fei's lips curved into a mocking smile. Chu Yihan's expression grew icy, and his presence became imposing. You are courting death. How dare he question his wife? Your Highness need not rage, this matter has not yet involved you. Your own objectives are still unknown, said Mu Fei, his statement and smile at the corners of his mouth putting Qin Ruli on guard. Although Chu Yihan was his brother-in-law, and surely a good man, he was also the ninth prince of the great Qing dynasty, a powerful man with influence over the court and country, his ambition unfathomable. If he harbored any designs on Great Way, Imperial brother, do not believe the ravings of this lunatic. I will kill him right now. Qin Mayan drew his flaming blade, ready to strike Mu Fei. Wait. Let him continue, I want to see what nonsensical case this man can make. Yingxue looks exactly like my Jing'er. In this whole wide world, how could such a resemblance exist if not for a mother-daughter relationship? The Empress Dowager gripped Su Yingxue's hand tightly, her heart set on exposing Mu Fei's lies. But Mu Fei laughed and took something out of his bosom. Faces can be coincidental, but the heirloom of the eldest princess, surely there cannot be another coincidence like this in the whole world, can there? An heirloom. Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows slightly, watching as Mu Fei produced the jade pendant. It was a half-piece, gleaming with a phosphorescent light. A blue phosphorescent light. She had never seen it before. This jade pendant, the Empress Dowager's heart skipped a beat. Bring it here, let me have a look at it. Without delay, the nursemaid fetched the jade pendant and presented it to the Empress Dowager. She covered her mouth, tears spilling silently as she said, This jade pendant is the one I gave to Jing'er. It belonged to the former emperor. Overcome by emotion, she fainted. Empress Dowager. Grandmother. The nursemaid and Su Yingxue supported the Empress Dowager together. Su Yingxue instructed the nursemaid, remove her shoes and socks, and make her comfortable. Seeing the assurance in Su Yingxue's demeanor, the nursemaid expressed surprise, do you possess medical knowledge? Su Yingxue nodded, and the nursemaid immediately complied. Su Yingxue applied 2 needles to the Empress Dowager's feet, let a bit of blood, and after regulating her breathing, she slowly regained consciousness. Qin Ruli and Qin Mayan hurried over, Imperial Grandmother, please don't be agitated, you must take care of yourself. With red-rimmed eyes, the Empress Dowager grasped Qin Ruli's hand. Yenna was but a child then, but you, Ruli, must remember, this jade pendant, it was given to me by the former emperor, and from me to Jing'er. Who's real and who's fake? Qin Ruli took the jade pendant and looked at it carefully, nodding, yes, this blue scale jade, it is said to be formed many years ago from the fusion of a merfolk scales and tears, hence it glows with a phosphorescent blue light. There is only this one in the world, no one can imitate it. This jade pendant must indeed be genuine. Qin Mayan took the jade pendant and looked at it, although he had not seen it before, he had heard of it. It was a gift from his imperial grandfather to the imperial grandmother, who then put it on his little aunt when she was born. Such a precious object, his little aunt certainly would not be parted from it, even if she were to disappear, she would be wearing it. Unless it was lost. Qin Mayan's knife rested on Mu Fei's neck. Speak, where did you get this? And where is the other half of the jade pendant? The other half of the jade pendant is here. Shen Yu took out the other half of the jade pendant from her bosom as if it were a treasured possession, though it was just given to her by Mu Fei, she treated it as a priceless treasure. As Qin Mayan reached out to take it, she protected it as if it were her own life. This is the only thing my mother left me. Your Highness, if you wish to take it away, then take my life along with it. Enough nonsense. Hand it over to your Highness to see. The others might have felt pity for her, but Qin Mayan did not. He made a move to snatch it away. Wait. The Empress Dowager's mind cleared somewhat, and her attitude toward Shen Yu softened a bit. Bring that jade pendant to me and let the Emperor and I take a look. If it really matches, then your identity is still, yet to be determined. Her heart ached faintly as she spoke. From the first moment she saw Su Yingxue, she was convinced she was her own granddaughter. But she could not disbelieve the evidence. At this time, Su Yingxue could not say much more. She stood beside Chui Han, and he clasped her fingers tightly, giving her confidence. No one can replace you. Su Yingxue smiled faintly. Yes, my husband. Her calm and serene smile, when caught in Qin Mayan's eyes, made his gaze even more fervent and obsessed. Su Yingxue was so captivating. No matter if she was his cousin or not. Shen Yu knelt and crawled towards the Empress Dowager, personally handing over the jade pendant with a careful reverence in her eyes. I've had this jade pendant on me since I was young, and I think it must be something my mother left me, so I've never dared to part with it. She began to cry. Such filial piety was hard not to move people. The Empress Dowager put the two halves of the jade pendant together and found that it was indeed a whole piece, and it was the one she gave to Zheng'er. She felt a sudden pain in her heart. This is what I gave to Zheng'er. With a hopeful look, she then turned towards Su Yingxue. Yingxue, do you have any relics from Zheng'er, or anything she left behind? This jade pendant, could it have been lost by her? Su Yingxue pursed her lips, even though she did not know where Shen Ye's jade pendant came from. But she had to tell the Empress Dowager the truth. My mother left me no relics, only medical books and letters, which I think are irrelevant to the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty. Her real mother was Long Shuli, and this Wei Qingjing, she had already died by the time her mother arrived. She saw the disappointment in the Empress Dowager's eyes, and her heart ached slightly. If that's the case, who really is Zheng'er's daughter? The Empress Dowager was unable to make up her mind for the moment. Even Qin Ruli found it extremely tricky. Yingxue looks exactly like my little aunt, but this jade pendant was something my little aunt would never part with. If she's not her biological daughter, how could my little aunt have left the jade pendant with her? Qin Ruli paced back and forth in the hall. What is Mu Fei's intention? Why not ask Mu Fei where he got the blue-scaled jade which is supposedly my mother's personal belonging? Su Yingxue's eyes were sharp as she turned to look at Mu Fei. This person was unfathomable. The Empress Dowager and Qin Mayan also stared intently at Mu Fei. Their gazes carried a powerful pressure. If it had been any ordinary person, they would have been scared into having a heart attack by now. Yet Mu Fei remained calm and unhurried as he said, "This jade pendant was something I found at a ghost market. I am also a citizen of the Great Wei dynasty and had heard of this item. Hence, I sought it out and eventually discovered the whereabouts of Princess Xiaohua. If Princess Xiaohua is not the daughter of the eldest princess, then why was the other half of this jade pendant not found with someone else, but with her instead? The 9th Princess Consort claims to be the daughter of the eldest princess, but what evidence does she have to prove it? After all, apart from a face that resembles the eldest princess, she has nothing else. And I have heard that those with exceptional medical skills can change a person's face." As soon as Mu Fei spoke, the hall erupted into commotion. Changing faces. Qin Ruli's eyes deepened. You mean to say, turning an entirely different face into an exact replica? Is such miraculous craftsmanship possible? Of course it is. Su Yingxue of the Great Qing dynasty is renowned for her extraordinary medical skills. Surely, the emperor has heard of her, hasn't he? Mu Fei's eyes had a flirtatious lift, the corners harboring a sharp glint. Qin Ruli nodded. Indeed, I have heard a little about her reputation recently. Seeing Su Yingxue close to Chu Yihan, a seed of doubt took root in his heart. Imperial brother, Yingxue's face has never changed. When I met her, she was already as she appears now. Besides, she is benevolent and skillful in medicine, using her talents solely to save lives. Changing her appearance is something she would disdain to do. Qin Mayan couldn't wait to defend Su Yingxue. He knew that once his imperial brother began to doubt Su Yingxue, the motivations behind her and Chu Yihan's visit to the Great Wei dynasty would come under suspicion. He would not stand by and let such a thing happen. The 9th Princess Consort is famed for her incomparable beauty, an object of desire for the whole world, but blood relations and affection cannot be replaced by beauty. Shen Yu covered her chest, sobbing and gasping for air. Her speech was feeble and pitiful, yet it subtly reminded everyone that Su Yingxue's beauty was her best weapon. She also implied that Qin Mayan was blinded by Su Yingxue's allure. Imperial grandmother, considering the matter of the young lad's identity, I think it should be handled with caution. We must uncover the complete truth, Qin Ruli said with a deep frown. No matter who was the genuine party and who was the impostor, it was a matter of great importance. The lineage of the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty must not be confused. The intentions behind the simultaneous appearance of these two people also needed to be thoroughly investigated. There's no need for trouble if the emperor desires a clear resolution, Chu Yihan, who had been observing from the sidelines, spoke lightly. Although he wasn't part of the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty, and he seldom spoke, there was not a single person in the Great Hall who dared to overlook his presence. He had been holding Su Yingxue's hand the entire time and said coolly, if you want to know the closeness of blood relations, a blood test will suffice. A blood test? Are you suggesting we do a blood kinship test? Qin Mayan asked, puzzled. No, my princess consort is capable of verifying whether two individuals share blood relations. Chu Yihan, cradling Su Yingxue's hand, softened his expression when his gaze fell upon her. Is it really so? The Empress Dowager was quite astonished. Qin Ruli was also surprised. Qin Mayan was relatively calm and a look of admiration appeared in his eyes. Indeed, I have witnessed such skill before. I can vouch for Yingxue, her results are undoubtedly accurate. Liking can't be compared with love. Shen Yu felt as if she had been struck by lightning, rendered completely immobile. Panicked, she looked toward Mu Fei, her eyes pleading for an answer. What should they do? Su Yingxue still had this kind of ability, did they want them to die? A sly smile curled on Mu Fei's lips, his expression unreadable. Shen Yu was on the verge of desperation, wishing she could grab his collar and demand, do you have any other tricks up your sleeve? If not, wasn't she as good as dead? After all, she couldn't escape from the Great Wei Imperial Palace by herself. But Mu Fei actually said, since the 9th Princess Consort has such confidence, perhaps it's worthwhile to have a thorough examination. What? Shen Ye's face turned deathly pale, her arms trembling uncontrollably behind her back. She had misplaced her trust in Mu Fei, this madman was going to get her killed. Bring the tools for Yingxue. Qin Ruli seemed to believe Su Yingxue as well, so he ordered preparations for her. Su Yingxue went to the inner hall and from Medicine King Valley, she took a silver needle and glass slide, planning to try the blood verification method she had used on Su Yuro last time. As long as it was proved that Shen Yu had no blood relation with the Empress Dowager, that would be enough. But as she was preparing the items, a beautiful woman appeared in the hall. Dressed in opulent and dignified attire, she walked in and sat down next to the Empress Dowager. Qin Ruli and Qin Mayan also treated her with great respect. When Qin Mayan saw her, he quickly introduced her. Yingxue, this is my mother, the eldest princess. My mother passed away early, and she raised me. Oh. Su Yingxue nodded, so it's the eldest princess. She was her aunt. I've heard that the Scarlet Flame King is very filial, and always takes care of things personally. You should return to the eldest princess side, the princess will be protected by your highness. Chu Yihan wrapped an arm around Su Yingxue's waist, gently lifted the stray hairs from her cheek, and tucked them behind her ear, showing tender affection. This scene truly stung Qin Mayan's eyes. His face turned a hue of dark green as he returned to Qin Guest's side. Qin Gu, having heard of the events occurring within the palace, had rushed over. The question of Su Yingxue and Shen Ye's identities was of paramount importance, but she noticed that Qin Mayan held extraordinary care for Su Yingxue. He even didn't hesitate to face embarrassment in front of Chu Yihan for her sake. At the moment, Qin Mayan's expression was extremely unhappy. All because of Su Yingxue. Qin Gu, grabbing Qin Mayan's hand, inquired with a sniff, Mayan, are you very familiar with that Su Yingxue? She has saved my life on numerous occasions, she is a very good woman. To Qin Mayan, no amount of flowery language could capture Su Yingxue, so he simply used the word good. Qin Gu naturally picked up on his underlying meaning regardless of Su Yingxue's identity. The fact that she had become Chu Yihan's wife and yet continued to capture Qin Mayan's heart couldn't sit well with her. That alone prevented her from taking a liking to Su Yingxue. She selectively ignored Su Yingxue's greeting to her. Leaning against Chu Yihan, Su Yingxue quietly said, it seems my aunt doesn't like me very much. Do you lack her affection? Chu Yihan's voice was cool. Su Yingxue tilted her head, I guess not. Having hubby's affection is enough for me. For you, I have love. Love that penetrates deep into the marrow. Affection does not even merit comparison with deep love. A blush crept silently up Su Yingxue's earlobes. Originally thinking she could tease Chu Yihan, who knew this normally cold and abstinent man's casual remark would make her heart race and face flush. The princess is actually Xinyu. Su Yingxue secretly pinched herself, thinking that she was really letting herself down. If her mother's spirit in heaven saw this, she would definitely laugh at her. All right, everything is ready. To demonstrate fairness and impartiality, I, the princess, will collect blood from both of you. This method, taught to the court physician by the 9th princess consort, will be used by the court physician to verify the results. Is this acceptable? Qin Guest's scrutinizing gaze turned towards Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue nodded frankly, it's acceptable, no problem. Therefore, when Qin Gu came to draw her blood, she cooperated by reaching out her hand. Qin Gu placed her blood on a microscope slide. Then she turned to draw Shen Ye's blood. After collecting both blood samples, she proceeded towards the court physician. However, as she passed by Mu Fei, she suddenly heard a whisper, swap the two people's blood. Who? Qin Gu was somewhat dazed. She suddenly became oblivious to her surroundings. Swap the two people's blood. The voice rang out again, and Qin Gu lost consciousness, her hand under her sleeve moved. The wet nurse took the blood of the Empress Dowager, along with the 2 drops of blood Qin Gu had, and gave them all to the court physician. The court physician verified the blood using the method taught by Su Yingxue. At first, they were all intrigued by this novel method of blood testing they had never heard of before, and being able to carry out the experiment themselves was of great significance. After a quarter of an hour of standing still, the results came out. The court physician excitedly announced, "This drop of blood melds with the Empress Dowager's blood. She must indubitably be the Empress Dowager's biological granddaughter. Quick, show it to me." The Empress Dowager couldn't wait to know the result. The wet nurse promptly helped her up. With Qin Ruli's permission, the court physician first brought the items to the side of the Empress Dowager. Seeing one drop of blood merge with her own, the Empress Dowager was tearfully moved, but the expression on her face stiffened when she saw the name labeled on the microscope slide. Qin Gut sensed something was amiss and immediately went to check the results by the Empress Dowager's side. Her lips tightly pursed, she said nothing. Qin Mayan called out loudly, "Bring it here so your highness and imperial brother can take a look." The court physician then knelt by Qin Ruli and Qin Mayan with the tray in hand. The expressions on both their faces were equally complex. Especially when Qin Mayan looked at Su Yingxue, his gaze carried a sense of regret. "How could this be? It should have been Yingxue," Qin Mayan murmured softly, unable to believe it. Su Yingxue suddenly sensed something. That result seems to have a problem. Chu Yihan also felt it. But he didn't speak rashly. Everyone had seen the result, everyone except Su Yingxue and Shen Yu. Shen Yu was still on tenterhooks, until the Empress Dowager stood up, walked over to her, and extended a hand, saying warmly, "Child, I have wronged you. You are indeed the one connected to me by blood." Shen Ye's heart almost couldn't contain its excitement. But she quickly controlled her emotions, merely covering her face and weeping bitterly, putting on a heartbroken appearance. "Imperial grandmother, Zhao knows, the truth will eventually be clear to the world." Su Yingxue, she couldn't snatch away everything that belonged to her. The identity of a great Wei dynasty princess was hers. Su Yingxue bit her lip. How could this be? Could there have been foul play? Her sharp gaze immediately shot towards Qin Gu and the court physician. One collected the blood, and the other verified it. Who would deliberately tamper with the results? Chu Yihan's brows furrowed tightly, his oppressive gaze landed on Qin Gu. Qin Gu stood up at once. "What? Are your highness the 9th prince and his wife doubting me, the princess?" Shen Yu hits the wall. Under the watchful eyes of the public, the court physician dared not tamper with anything, Chu Yihan said coldly, his oppressive gaze piercing through Qin Gu. Between the court physician and Qin Gu, only Qin Gu was the most suspect. "Chu Yihan, do not make baseless accusations against my mother. She has always been fair and would never make a mistake with the results." Although Qin Mayan couldn't accept the outcome, he believed in his mother and couldn't think of any reason she would err. "Chu Yihan, the imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty respects you, but that doesn't mean you can insult my aunt, the eldest princess of Great Wei." Qin Ruli's face was filled with indignation. The imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty always treated each other with mutual respect and affection, and did not allow outsiders to interfere. Seeing the conflict between the Qin brothers and Chu Yihan escalating, the Empress Dowager spoke out, "Enough, the 9th prince means well and bears no ill intent. Now that the results are out, Zhao is indeed my own granddaughter, so let's put an end to this commotion." Although she recognized Shen Ye's identity, her fond gaze still lingered on Su Yingxue. "She looks just like my Zheng heir." Kneeling at the Empress Dowager's feet, Shen Yu clenched her teeth in silent hatred. The Empress Dowager still held on to her fondness for Su Yingxue. If she had another trick up her sleeve, Shen Yu would still find it difficult to cope. Resolutely, she stood up, holding her skirt, and cried softly, "I know I am not as beautiful as Miss Su, nor do I possess her noble status. It's clear Zhao is not worthy of this princess title. Better for Zhao to seek my mother in the netherworld." With those words, she violently rushed toward a nearby pillar. Bang! Blood splattered everywhere. The Empress Dowager covered her heart in alarm. "Zhao! Zhao! Cousin! Qin Gu and Qin Ruli hurried over too, lifting her up to take her away and calling for the court physician to treat her, causing a frantic bustle in the Funing Palace. Only Qin Mayan approached Su Yingxue and said in a low voice, "Yingxue, let me take you back to the palace to rest for now. It's not suitable for you to stay in the palace any longer." At this moment, Qin Ruli was preoccupied with the suicide attempt of Shenyu, temporarily forgetting the predicament between Chui Han and Su Yingxue, which also helped avoid some conflicts. Su Yingxue was about to say something when Chui Han pulled her into his embrace. His eyes were cold, and his words carried an innate authority. "There's no need to trouble yourself, Your Highness. I will protect the princess. Chui Han, this is the Great Wei dynasty, do not overstep." Qin Mayan snorted coldly, still unwilling to let go of the suspicion Chui Han had towards his mother earlier. But Chui Han, holding Su Yingxue, walked away. "They just left like that?" Su Yingxue did not turn back to look at him again. A sense of disappointment flooded Qin Mayan's heart. His dejected figure was noticed by Qin Gu. Qin Gu, observant and detail-oriented, knew she hadn't misjudged the situation. Qin Mayan must have feelings for Su Yingxue. But now, Su Yingxue was already Chu Yihan's princess. Qin Ge's brow furrowed tightly at the thought. The lapse in focus she had experienced earlier still lingered in her mind. It was as if she had done something instinctively, yet now she couldn't remember it at all. Her body had never exhibited such strange symptoms before. It was as though a man's voice had issued her a command in her mind. "What's wrong with mother?" Qin Mayan turned around, noticed Qin Gu standing behind him with an inscrutable expression, and quickly showed concern. Qin Gu extended her hand for him to hold and said, "Mu Yan, come with mother." Shenyu was being treated in a side hall while Qin Gu and Qin Mayan went to the courtyard in the palace. Qin Gu dismissed the palace servants nearby and went alone with Qin Mayan. Her scrutinizing gaze fell upon him. "Did you refuse to marry Zhao Hua because of this Su Yingxue? You like her." The quirks of Qin Ge's tone was very certain, and whether it was her gaze or a woman's intuition, both were accurate. "Yes, this son loves her deeply," Qin Mayan confessed without intending to hide it. Qin Gu took a sharp breath. "If Su Yingxue truly were your cousin, and were as yet unmarried, your fondness for her would be understandable, and mother would never stand in your way. But what you saw today. She is not your cousin, and may even be suspected of impersonation. All this aside, most importantly, she's already married, to the 9th princess consort. Do you not know what kind of man Chui Han is? Do you intend to compete with him for a woman?" Qin Mayan clenched his right fist, his eyes stubborn and resolute. "This son does not wish to compete with him. If Yingxue is willing, this son is prepared to go through fire and water to marry her. But now that Chui Han treats her well, this son can only wait. Wait until one day she needs him, then he will reappear by her side." "What? You intend to wait for her?" Qin Gu felt her blood boiling. "Wait for her to be discarded by Chui Han? Or wait for her to come seduce you again once she no longer upholds her marital fidelity? Mayan, do you realize what you're saying? You are the emperor's own brother, the scarlet-flamed king of the Great Wei dynasty, a prince exalted above 10,000 people. How can you be so ruled by your emotions? Mother, this son likes her and wishes to protect her. As for cousin Zhao Hua, you and the others may decide on the marriage arrangement. This son will marry her as the princess and will surely provide for her all her life, but this son does not have feelings for her. Please inform Imperial Grandmother and cousin on behalf of this son," he said. Qin Mayan's expression was cold and stern, passion burning within his chest. As a man standing tall and upright, he was unable to marry the woman he loved, but his heart, it must belong to her. Zhao Hua would have to marry him, and he could take responsibility, keeping her in the prince's mansion all her life, but he would never love her. Qin Gu was so angry she could smoke from 7 orifices. But she knew her anger could not sway Qin Mayan in the slightest. The passionate blood of the Great Wei dynasty's men ran through his veins, and not even his imperial brother could change that. Qin Gu had no choice but to first visit Xinyu. Along the way, she was reminded again of the voice of that man in her mind. In the palace, Xue rested her elbows on the railing, gazing at the beautiful mountains and waters of the courtyard, her face full of confusion. Why would it be like this? The eldest princess and Xinyu should have no dealings of interest, and Xinyu couldn't possibly drive her to do this, but why did things turn out like this? Behind her, Chu Han poured a cup of tea, with a curling fragrance rising, the entire room filled with a faint tea aroma, refreshing and pleasing. As she breathed in, it penetrated her body, like a cool breeze in the forest. Chu Han brought the tea to Xue and even personally fed it to her mouth. The possibility of being manipulated by someone cannot be ruled out. That Mu Fei is problematic. Being manipulated, Xue thought of how she inexplicably left the 9th prince's mansion. Was she not controlled by Wu Dao too? Wu Dao's drug. And this person, Mu Fei, indeed radiated strangeness in every aspect. Xue remembered their meeting at the ghost market. Had he detected her identity then? She shared this suspicion with Chu Han. Chu Han spoke indifferently. He is from the Great Wei dynasty, and may have some connections to your mother. Otherwise, that piece of blue-scale jade would not have been easy to take. Moreover, he is a man of the ghost market. If he wanted Wu Dao's drug, it wouldn't be unattainable. Clasping Chu Han's hand, Xue took another sip of tea and said, "Then we should capture Mu Fei for interrogation." Chu Han pinched the soft flesh on her cheek with his right hand and said, "Not urgent, let's wait for the shadow guards to report." Granting marriage to Qin Mayan, she thought Mu Fei would demand money and valuables just like her parents did. But Mu Fei let out a series of chilling laughter. Ha ha, ha 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 ha, what are you laughing at? The laughter made Xinye's skin crawl without reason. The reward I want, you better pay close attention. I want you to secure your place as princess, not giving Xue the slightest opportunity, otherwise, your end will be the deception of the imperial family, and you'll be torn apart by 5 horses. Mu Fei leaned in close to Xinyu, his cold voice echoing in her ears, making her envision a horrifying scene, a dark path completely lined with menacing skeletons. She grasped her chest in fright, but once Mu Fei left her, she finally saw clearly that this was just the splendid side hall of Funing Palace. There were no such ominous skeletons. It was just her mind playing tricks on her. Mu Fei reminded her, play the role of the princess well in the palace, win over the Empress Dowager, and don't let Xue get close to her. When the time is right, make them enemies of Xue. He was so terrifying that Xinyu couldn't help but purse her lips in agreement. I understand. As for your parents, I advise you to deal with them sooner rather than later, else they will surely become a stumbling block for you. Mu Fei's voice reverberated in her mind. Xinye's heart trembled fiercely. Those were her biological parents after all. Was she really expected to kill them? But then she thought, how useless they were, nearly exposing her. If they were to live and stay in the palace, they would inevitably mess things up again. Without her identity as the princess, she wouldn't just be unable to go back to selling fish, but her very life would be in jeopardy. No. I will not let anyone take what's mine. All of this, it's all mine. Xinyu gazed greedily at the wealth of the palace, a hint of ruthlessness flashing in her eyes. Once Xinye's identity was confirmed, the Empress Dowager showered her with even more affection, sending treasures and silver jewelry flowing towards her like water, letting her ask for anything she wished, as if she wanted to pluck the moon from the sky for her. But Xinyu always appeared sickly and aloof, showing little happiness. The Empress Dowager thought, is Xiao still worried about your origins? As for the ninth princess consort, I think she is a reasonable person and has not entered the palace again. The matter of the identity must be a misunderstanding. The Empress Dowager felt regret over Su Yingxue, but the matter of blood relationships couldn't be changed, so regret was all it could be. Hearing her say this, Shen Yu meekly responded on the surface, "Yes, the ninth princess consort will definitely not compete with me for the title of the princess. What Zhao cares about even more is the blood relationship with the imperial grandmother. After all, imperial grandmother has been without a mother for so many years, and I haven't been able to see my mother either." As she spoke, she covered her face and cried, drawing out all the pain in the Empress Dowager's heart. The Empress Dowager's heart ached and she shed tears, treating her even more tenderly. She wanted to give Shen Yu everything she had. She thought about her old age and the possibility that her eyes might close before long, and that Zhao Hua, not yet married, would have no one to look after her. So she summoned Qin Gu and Qin Mayan to her side and brought up the subject of an arranged marriage again. Qin Gu had no objections, as marrying another granddaughter cherished by the Empress Dowager to Qin Mayan would further secure his position in both the imperial family and in the court. As for Qin Mayan, he was expressionless and simply said, "I shall comply with the Empress Dowager's wishes." His willingness to marry Shen Yu brought great comfort to the Empress Dowager. Qin Ruli drafted a decree, and on the same day, it was proclaimed to the world. One less person, the bed feels so big. Lise, Shen Yu, having her wishes fulfilled, was naturally overjoyed. However, during dinner, she wanted to speak more with Qin Mayan, but he was cold-faced and refused to spare her an extra glance. Inside the palace, Chui Han received a secret report. Chui Feng has had an incident. Your Highness must return to Yungue City to check on him. Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. Could it be that he is refusing his medicine again, causing his condition to worsen? Chui Han remained silent, which meant there probably wasn't any other issue. Chui Han had intended to take Su Yingxue with him. If he still refuses to take his medicine, you can just knock him out again. Let's not. After all, he is your brother. If I hit him too many times, we'll still have to face each other in the future. Su Yingxue awkwardly tugged at her lips. Admittedly, she loathed the madman Chui Feng, and Chui Han would favor her for life. But what if Chui Feng recovered and held a grudge against her? When that time came, wouldn't her husband be the one caught in the middle? It was best to stop while she was ahead. And so, Su Yingxue, embracing Chui Han, whispered, "I want to settle the affairs of the Great Wei dynasty before returning. I must expose Shen Yu and Mu Fei's schemes. Mu Fei is cunning and not easy to deal with. Once your highness leaves, he will surely find an opportunity to strike." Chui Han stroked Su Yingxue's nape, his eyes full of concern for her. The terror he experienced on the day of their wedding was something he never wanted to relive for the rest of his life. He also no longer wanted to be apart from her. Su Yingxue curled her lips. "What is there to fear when I have my husband's cold jade? With your shadow guard spread across the 4 kingdoms and 9 provinces, how could I possibly come to harm in the Great Wei dynasty?" Chui Han patted her head. "That's true. The shadow guards will ensure your safety at all times." Chui Han was somewhat reluctant to leave her, as he had planned to set off at dawn. But using Chui Feng's critical condition as a reason, Su Yingxue urged him to leave right away, in case Chui Feng died and it was too late. Rongxing wouldn't indulge him, after all. Chui Han was persuaded by her reasoning. Yet when the time came to depart, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Upon his departure from the palace, Su Yingxue finally breathed a sigh of relief, and flopped onto the vast bed, rolling around several times both lengthways and widthways. "I never noticed before, but this bed is huge." Su Yingxue heaved a long sigh. In the previous days, when she slept with Chui Han, he would either press down on her or insist on holding her as they fell asleep. She found it difficult to turn over, feeling as though only a small part of the bed was hers. Now that Chui Han was gone, she finally didn't have to endure being pinned down, and would not wake up with a sore back and aching waist the next morning. But at night, there were always uninvited visitors. Princess Xiaohua has arrived. The voice of a palace maid rang from outside her chamber. Su Yingxue got up from the bed and slightly raised an eyebrow, to think she has come at this hour. If Xin Yu was looking for her, it certainly wouldn't be for anything good. But Su Yingxue was not one to shrink from trouble. She dressed herself and rose to meet Xin Yu just as she entered. Her palace maids opened the doors for her. With a mocking curl of her lip, Su Yingxue said, "Princess Xiaohua holds such a noble status. How can you be so ill-mannered as to barge into someone else's chamber unannounced? You must be used to it from all those years as a pauper, right? Those who have risen from nothing to a phoenix's perch detest nothing more than the reminder of their days as a crow in distress." Xin Yu was the typical case. At the mention of the word pauper, her expression turned sinister as she wished she could tear Su Yingxue into pieces there and then. "Su Yingxue, do you think you can do as you please just because you consider yourself noble? This is the Great Wei Dynasty, and you are living in a Wei Dynasty palace. I, as princess, can have you expelled at any time, or have you killed." Xin Yu falls to his death lease. Xin Ye's eyes were bloodshot, set against her pale little face, which emanated an eerie aura. How could Su Yingxue be afraid of her? She arched her picturesque brows, her demeanor relaxed and at ease. "If you could kill me, would you need to find me? The knife would already be at my neck, right? Coming here to make threats is something only those who are powerless would do. You." Xin Ye's psyche was firmly gripped by her words. She stepped back several paces to the balcony, where the night wind howled, lifting her skirts. She glared at Su Yingxue with cold eyes. "Do you think you can succeed? Everything that belongs to me, you can't take it away. It's everything that belongs to me, you can't take it away." Su Yingxue pointed at her, correcting her. "Is that so? The 9th prince has left. Do you think you alone can accomplish anything significant?" Xin Ye's lips curled into a smug smile, her eyes filled with malice. Su Yingxue observed her position. She gradually retreated closer to the railing. The chamber she was staying in was on the 2nd floor. Xin Ye's arriving late at night must have been an attempt to frame her. Su Yingxue dashed forward to grab Xin Yu, but numerous hidden weapons were suddenly shot towards her. She quickly pulled out her red jade soft whip to defend herself. Bang bang bang. She knocked all the hidden weapons to the ground, preventing any from injuring her. But Xin Yu fell from the railing, screaming, "Oh! 9th Princess Consort, please spare me." Thud. Xin Ye's entire body crashed to the ground, with a pool of blood forming behind her. The palace maids who had followed her, waiting downstairs, were already screaming in panic, "Oh! Princess! Princess, please wake up." Su Yingxue leaned over the railing to look outside, allowing the palace maids to clearly see her face. One of the palace maids beside Xin Yu pointed at her and shouted, "9th Princess Consort." It was the 9th Princess Consort who pushed the princess down. She is trying to murder the princess. Someone come quickly, go and inform the Empress Dowager. Within the imperial palace, all who were originally at rest were stirred into commotion again because of Xin Yu. Xin Ye's injuries were grave. The court physician said her life might be in danger. The Empress Dowager fainted upon hearing the news and was supported back to her chamber to rest. Qin Mayan received the news and hurriedly rushed into the palace. His mother, Qin Gu, was busily attending to both sides, while Qin Ruli stood outside the chamber with a gloomy expression. Su Yingxue really knows no gratitude. If something happens to cousin and imperial grandmother, I will surely kill her. Imperial brother, this matter must not have been done by Yingxue. She's not like that. There must be some misunderstanding. Qin Mayan quickly defended. His eagerness to protect Su Yingxue, unbothered by the condition of the Empress Dowager and Shenyu, angered Qin Ruli greatly. Mu Yan, what is wrong with you? Imperial grandmother and cousin are in such a dangerous state, and you don't show any concern, yet you care so much for that outsider. How can Su Yingxue be mentioned in the same breath as our king? Imperial brother, I'm just speaking on the basis of facts. Even if Yingxue isn't our cousin, she's a kind-hearted woman and would never harm anyone. Zhao Hua going to find her in the middle of the night is already odd. Doesn't that suggest Zhao Hua has an ulterior motive? Nonsense. Qin Ruli, furious, punched Qin Mayan, causing him to stagger. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but Qin Mayan, enduring the pain, still insisted, I trust Yingxue, she wouldn't hurt anyone. As for Imperial grandmother, it's because Zhao Hua is sick. We must wait for Zhao Hua to awaken and properly interrogate her. Qin Mayan's stance was resolute, but in Qin Ruli's eyes, this was nothing but being bewitched by Su Yingxue. Mu Fei steps in to save the Prime Minister Lise. Wei Ju clenched his fist in salute. Yes, I will obey the command. Qin Mayan went to report back to Qin Ruli, who immediately wanted to interrogate Su Yingxue. Qin Mayan advised him, Imperial brother, it's better to wait until after you've met with the Imperial grandmother and Zhao Hua before making any decisions. The incident of Zhao Hua falling has too many suspicious points. If Yingxue wanted to kill her, she wouldn't need to be so foolish. With her superb medical skills, there are countless ways to kill someone without detection. Qin Ruli, listening to Qin Mayan, felt a headache coming on. It seems to me that your entire heart is set on Su Yingxue, to the point where you'd wish to become a suit of armor for her to wear, impervious to sword and spear. Every word and deed did nothing but favor Su Yingxue. It was simply madness. Qin Mayan made no comment. After all, his stance was clear, with him around, no one could harm Su Yingxue. Shen Ye's illness had been tormenting her all night, with the court physicians at a loss. It wasn't until Mu Fei stepped in that Shen Ye's life was saved. The Empress Dowager awoke and, upon hearing the news, was so moved that she wept profusely, and awarded Mu Fei plenty of gold, silver, and jewels. Mu Fei appeared neither arrogant nor humble, and simply said with a light smile, the princess' injuries are quite complex, but since I was the one who saved her, I feel obliged to see it through. I dare to ask to care for the princess until she has fully recovered. There's nothing wrong with that. With your excellent medical skills taking care of Zhao and ensuring her recovery, I will certainly reward you generously. The Empress Dowager agreed immediately. Qin Go also said, once Princess Zhao Hua has recovered, I will speak to the Emperor on your behalf, bestowing upon you a title that will ensure you have no worries about food and clothing in the future. I thank the princess, Mu Fei replied. In front of them, Mu Fei was the picture of humility. But the more humble he appeared, the stranger Qin Mayan found him. He approached Mu Fei and, from a height, interrogated, Your Highness has investigated you. You come from the Ghost Market, a place full of desperados. The matter of you finding the blue-scale jade must be thoroughly verified. When did you learn medical skills that could save Zhao Hua? Mu Fei's lips quirked at an angle, a hint of roguishness spilling forth. Your Highness, should you not be more concerned about your cousin, Princess Zhao Hua's condition? This counter-questioning left Qin Mayan quite displeased. It's not your place to question me. Speak, how did you come upon the blue-scale jade and ascertain Zhao Hua's whereabouts? What exactly happened when Zhao Hua fell from the palace? I am but a commoner devoted to serving the Great Wei dynasty. If your Highness harbors such doubts, it is best I no longer remain in the palace, Mu Fei proclaimed. Saying so, Mu Fei attempted to take his leave. The Empress Dowager hastily called out, Stay where you are. She halted Mu Fei and then turned a sharp gaze towards Qin Mayan. Mayan, what is the meaning of this? You don't inquire after Zhao Hua's condition but instead question her life-saving benefactor? Are you suspecting this Mu Fei of harming Zhao? It was clearly that Su Yingxue who plotted against her. The more the Empress Dowager had previously adored Su Yingxue, the greater her disappointment was now. That Su Yingxue likely used her beauty to gain sympathy from me, seeking to steal Zhao's identity. Such a scheming and malicious woman, yet she is the 9th princess consort of the great Qing dynasty. How can you be deceived by her? Imperial grandmother, she would not deceive me, I assure you. Yingxue is truly not a villain, she wouldn't harm Zhao Hua, Qin Mayan protested. Enough. The Empress Dowager, livid with anger, exclaimed, if you plead for Su Yingxue once more, do not come to see me, your imperial grandmother, again. Get out. Face swap lease, Mu Yan, apologize to your imperial grandmother at once. Qin Gu walked up to his side and gave him a hard pat. Qin Mayan flipped his robe and knelt down, yet remained completely silent, as if engaging in a silent protest. The Empress Dowager snorted coldly and no longer paid any attention to Qin Mayan. Qin Gu shook his head discreetly at Qin Mayan and followed the Empress Dowager away. When Mu Fei left, he gave Qin Mayan's retreating figure a mischievous curl of his lips. After regaining consciousness, Shen Yu sent for him. Once Mu Fei arrived in Shen Yu's chamber, she immediately asked, eager and impatient, well? Has Su Yingxue been captured? She was too agitated, aggravating the wound on her back, and the entire person let out a scream of pain. Oh! It hurts so much. Mu Fei shook his fan and laughed coldly. If you hadn't fallen so convincingly, how would the Empress Dowager believe that Su Yingxue harmed you, and why would she capture her? Shen Yu was in so much pain that she felt as if her bones were falling apart, almost convinced that she was truly about to die, that she would not make it. She clenched her teeth in anger. Did the Empress Dowager capture her or not? When will she execute her? She had almost lost her life framing Su Yingxue. If Su Yingxue didn't die, wouldn't her fall have been in vain? Mu Fei told her in a leisurely manner, Su Yingxue has been captured, but it was Qin Mayan who took her. Right now, he has placed Su Yingxue in the imperial prison but has assigned his trusted aides to guard her. No one can touch Su Yingxue, hence, there's still much for you to do. Shen Yu gnashed her teeth in irritation. Why? Why does my cousin favor Su Yingxue so much? What does Su Yingxue have that earns his favoritism? Qin Mayan wouldn't even spare her an extra glance, even though she and Su Yingxue looked identical, both born with equal beauty. Why does Su Yingxue have what she doesn't? Because your face still needs to change. Mu Fei used the edge of his fan to lift Shen Yu's face. Indeed, this face bore some resemblance to Su Yingxue's, and it could be considered somewhat attractive. Compared to Qin Jing, however, it was far inferior. The blood ties between Su Yingxue and Qin Jing were almost unquestionable. That face was the best proof. Shen Yu frowned in confusion. My face still needs to change. Can faces be changed at will? Even Shen Yu had never heard of such a thing in the Great Wei Imperial Palace. Naturally, it can be changed, but it is somewhat painful. Mu Fei's mouth quirked up at the corner in a sinister smile as an ominous air spread across his entire face. He dismissed all the attendants from Funing Palace, performing the facial transformation alone for Shen Yu. Throughout the process, Shen Yu was in so much pain that she dared not even cry out loud. Because Mu Fei reminded her that if she attracted attention and was discovered, she would be walking a path to her own death. Now that she and Mu Fei were in the same boat, she had no choice but to follow his lead. However, she attributed all the excruciating pain she was enduring to Su Yingxue's account. It was all her fault. Why did she have to appear in the Great Way? Why did she have to compete with her for the identity of the princess in the Great Wei dynasty? Had she not appeared, how could she possibly suffer like this? It was all Su Yingxue who caused her harm. Shen Yu bore the agony of flesh and bone being torn apart, biting down hard on her teeth. Su Yingxue, I will make sure you never recover. She must die. 2 hours later, Mu Fei washed his hands in a copper basin. It was already the 14th or 15th basin of bloodied water. After cleaning his hands, he told Shen Yu, no one must see your face for the next 3 days. Wait for me to remove the stitches, and by then, you will have a face identical to that of eldest Princess Qin Jing. Mu Fei also has a gentle side lease. Shen Yu hid behind the curtain, not daring to move an inch. Understood, understood. With each word she spoke, her entire face painfully twitched. She didn't even dare to let her tears fall. While Mu Fei had not yet departed, a palace maid came to report that Shen Yu's adoptive parents wanted to see her. Shen Yu had no desire to see them, knowing they had come not for money, then it must be to discuss leaving the imperial palace. Her gaze shifted to Mu Fei, a ruthless light flashing across her eyes, and she simply told Mu Fei, take them away and say I allowed them to leave the palace to go home, then dispose of them. Oh. These are your biological parents, Mu Fei said, his laughter tinged with mockery. A wave of sorrow surged in Shen Yu's heart, but it was quickly replaced by her desire for glory and riches. Her expression was icy. What use do I have for such parents? They will only hold me back. I am to be the princess of the Great Wei dynasty. There's no point in keeping them around. Make sure you handle it cleanly. Consider it mutual assistance between the two of us. Mu Fei curled his lips. All right, there are plenty of ways to kill people in the ghost market. Grinding their bones to dust, turning them into human pigs, it's all possible. Human, what exactly is a human pig? Shen Yu was taken aback. Mu Fei was all too happy to educate her. It's when you chop off someone's limbs while they're still alive, gouge out their eyes, cut off their ears, then slice off their tongue, and afterward, submerge them in a jar of medicinal liquor. Keep them alive, feed them a little food every day, periodically change the medicinal liquor, just like a flower in a pot, keeping them alive. What? Shen Yu's very soul trembled with fright. How could there be such a twisted method? Wasn't this making life worse than death? To care for a person like a plant, and yet, to keep it alive. Just thinking about it made Shen Yu break out in a cold sweat. You can't bear to do it. Mu Fei leisurely enjoyed watching Shen Yu's terrified expression, as if to him, this was some sort of amusing affair. No. I can't, she quickly shook her head in denial, just take them away. Do whatever you want, I'll leave it to you. So your biological parents are part of a deal you made with me, Mu Fei chuckled softly. Yes. Yes. Being able to trade useless people was better than anything else. The thought of the human pig one Mu Fei had described often made Shen Yu feel nauseous, and she suffered from nightmares night after night. Mu Fei took Shen Yu's parents away, telling them he was granting them silver trading items to return to the Great Qing dynasty. These naive commoners simply followed him. Once outside the imperial palace, he took them back to a dilapidated old house. From the outside, it looked like a sealed-off official residence, very worn down. But inside, the house had already been cleaned and arranged. Alt Jing, dressed in a cherry blossom pink long gown, stood in the courtyard. From afar, when she saw Mu Fei return, she ran up to him with small, quick steps and cheerfully called out, "Master, you're back." Her open and bright eyes seemed to scatter stars around, their glittering specks of light bringing a sense of ease to one's heart and mind. Mu Fei gestured to her, and Alt Jing obediently stood before him, her voice clear, "Master, you've been gone for several days. Alt Jing has missed you so much." The house has been cleaned, and all of your belongings have been put in place. Please, go and rest a while. Mu Fei rubbed Alt Jing's head, a rare warmth flickering in his sinister eyes. Alt Jing is really good. Behind him, Shenye's parents, crouching slightly, voiced their confusion. Young Master Mu, weren't you going to give us gold and jewels and let us go? Why have you brought us here? What is this place? Want to share life and death with the Master Lise? Seeing her distress, Mu Fei put away his folding fan and set it aside. Don't worry, I just happen to be hungry. Jing couldn't cook or make pastries, she only learned after coining to his side. Yet, as Mu Fei ate the pastries, his mood remained calm, and gradually, he finished a plateful of them. Jing looked at the empty plate, incredulous. Master, don't they taste bad? Mu Fei patted her head. They're not bad, don't doubt yourself. Master, Jing's eyes suddenly reddened, and a restrained joy emerged. Master, you're too kind to me. These pastries, they're really not good. If it hadn't been for an extreme hunger, she was afraid even she couldn't have finished them, but Mu Fei ate them all. Seeing her tears, Mu Fei pulled her to his side and carefully wiped her face. Why are you crying? I'm just happy. You really are good to me, Master. I've never had anyone treat me so well before. Jing's lips puckered as tears rolled down one by one. She remembered her own past. I never knew who my parents were. Ever since I have memories, I was scavenging food from garbage heaps. Later I was captured and enslaved, nearly died several times, and when I was sold to the ghost market, had you not bought me, Master, I would have been tortured to death long ago. You are the first person to ever be kind to me. Moreover, she felt that Mu Fei doted on her. He killed all the female slaves that had been sold with her, leaving only her alive. He made sure she was well-fed and well-dressed and took her with him everywhere he went. Even at night, he would have her sleep behind the screen to keep watch. A dull pain throbbed in Mu Fei's heart. Just this is being good to you. Yes, Master, you're really very good. Jing couldn't help but lean into his embrace, her delicate, tender arms encircling Mu Fei's waist. Jing wants to be with Master for a lifetime, to serve Master. Is that so? Mu Fei's lips trembled slightly. He, a man despised for his misdeeds, stained and unworthy, also had someone who would be so loyal, desiring to be with him for a lifetime. Yes, Master, don't you have the heart-eater goo? Jing lifted her head from Mu Fei's embrace, her eyes sparriding. Mu Fei nodded. This thing is not good. After two people take it, if one dies, the other cannot live. Jing wants to take it with Master. This way, whether Master lives or dies, Jing can always be with Master. Jing's clear eyes glistened like the purest glaze, devoid of any impurity. Her purity made Mu Fei avert his gaze from her eyes. He pushed Jing aside. Never say such foolish things again. Jing thought Mu Fei was angry and quickly knelt before him. Yes, Jing understands her mistake. I won't dare to say it again. Master shouldn't be angry. The heart-eater goo can be harmful to the body. Jing does not dare to hurt Master. It's not. Mu Fei almost wanted to tell her that the heart-eater goo wouldn't harm the body, and even if it did, he had ways to counteract it. He had plenty of good medicine here. But he couldn't be so selfish as to have Jing take the heart-eater goo with him. Mu Fei took a deep breath, letting out a long sigh. Enough, you may go. Order someone to deal with the two in the firewood shed, to kill them once they've had enough. Mu Fei frowned in agitation. Jing trembled slightly as she got up. She wanted to ask Mu Fei if it was something she had said wrong that had made him angry. Trapping the Grand Empress Dowager Lise, but seeing Mu Fei pinching the bridge of his nose, she didn't dare to speak up. However, those two people in the firewood room. Jane could tell that they were not people from the black market, but ordinary commoners. The woman might have been a bit sharp-tongued, but she didn't deserve to be killed. After all, before their master killed someone, he would first torture them to the brink of death. She mustered her courage to relay the order, merely stating that the master wanted to torture them but did not mention letting them die. This could, for the time being, spare their lives. Even if they were turned into human pigs and kept alive, at least, they could still be alive. Shen Yu was recovering well in the palace, and after 3 days, she was waiting for Mu Fei to come and remove her stitches so she could finally see her face. However, a major incident had occurred at Funing Palace, throwing her into panic, and she had no choice but to seek Mu Fei's early entrance into the palace. Mu Fei, seeing her head wrapped like a mummy, responded coldly, "The time isn't up, and your hurry is useless." Shen Yu struggled to get out of bed, grasping her head, eyes filled with urgency. "Do you think I want this? Ever since you left that day, cousin has been kneeling in Funing Palace, begging the imperial grandmother to see the truth. The imperial grandmother has been angered to illness several times." Mu Fei's lips curled in a mocking sneer. "What does it have to do with you? For every day you are sick and unseen, the Empress Dowager won't let Su Yingxue off the hook. The more Qin Mayan kneels and begs, the more the Empress Dowager despises Su Yingxue. This is in your favor, so what's there for you to be anxious about? Do you think I want this? I heard from the palace maids that my cousin has stubbornly knelt for 2 days and nights, begging the imperial grandmother to meet Su Yingxue. He's even threatened to resign his title of Your Highness to coerce her. The imperial grandmother has compromised and agreed to see Su Yingxue herself." Shen Yu was so upset that her head spun, nearly unable to hold up her head as large as a bucket. Mu Fei's eyes narrowed slightly, and a ruthless glint spilled out. The Empress Dowager must not be allowed to see Su Yingxue at any cost. Su Yingxue's medical skills made it difficult for anyone to rest easy. Even within the imperial prison, there was no stopping her from being able to verify blood relations with the Empress Dowager. Mu Fei made a decisive move, pulled Shen Yu in front of the mirror, and started removing her bandages. Shen Yu was still somewhat perplexed. "Didn't you say that the bandages couldn't be removed before 3 days were up? Can you, or can't you do it?" "Shut up." A fierce coldness overflowed from Mu Fei's eyes, terrifying Shen Yu to the core. After removing her bandages, Mu Fei did some additional reinforcement. Although her face was visible before 3 days were up, the effect of the medicine wouldn't be very long-lasting. Shen Ye's face would collapse eventually. But what did that have to do with him? All he needed was to use Shen Ye's current face to stop the Empress Dowager. Shen Yu, looking at her reflection in the mirror, couldn't come to her senses for a good while. Is this me? Why couldn't she recognize herself? There wasn't a trace of her original appearance to be found. She had become a completely different woman. And it must be said, this woman was too beautiful. Beautiful to the extent that even she couldn't help feeling inferior. Mu Fei yanked her up, "Stop the nonsense and quickly go stop the Empress Dowager. Don't allow her to see Su Yingxue. Even if Qin Mayan persists alone, you must accompany her and make her despise Su Yingxue even more, or else I will kill you." The knife in Mu Fei's hand was pressed against Shen Ye's neck, and she could feel that it was this very scalpel that had sliced open the skin on her face and remodeled her features. Now, she was scared for her life. She tensed all over. Understood. Her Jing air. Lise, she would do her utmost. Seeing her leave, Mu Fei's eyes flashed with intense violence. He would definitely not allow Su Yingxue any chance to turn the tables. Qin Mayan, accompanied by the Empress Dowager, had already arrived at the entrance of the imperial prison. The Empress Dowager was elderly, and Qin Mayan could not rush her. He could only wait for her to slowly alight from the carriage and stand firm. As for him, riding the whole way, his knees, which had been knelt for 2 days and nights, were already numb with pain. When he moved to help the Empress Dowager, he himself staggered. "Take it slow." The Empress Dowager stood firm and actually gave Qin Mayan a hand in support. Looking at his swollen knees, the Empress Dowager sighed softly, I really don't know what you're thinking. What's so good about this Suingxue? Qin Mayan said gravely, doesn't the imperial grandmother think she's good? She resembles Auntie so much. Auntie was a gentle and kind woman, and so is she. The Empress Dowager's heart was suddenly blocked. Qin Zheng, because she was a kind woman, had been inadvertently kidnapped during the Lantern Festival and had been separated from her for so many years. This Suingxue. Enough. The Empress Dowager shook her head. When she first saw Suingxue, that face had also seemed familiar to her. For the sake of her obstinate grandson, she would go and listen to what she had to say. But before they could enter, they heard someone shouting loudly from behind, from the carriage, "Imperial grandmother, please wait for Zhaoer." Zhaoer. The Empress Dowager's attention was instantly attracted. The carriage that had been speeding along came to a stop, and Shen Ye's face appeared from within. The Empress Dowager's heart softened with pain. "Oh, my dear Zhaoer, you're not yet recovered, how can you withstand such jostling?" The Empress Dowager hurried to help her. After Shen Yu alighted from the carriage, she immediately knelt in front of the Empress Dowager, her eyes brimming with tears. "Imperial grandmother, Zhaoer has been unfilial, worrying you. Zhaoer is also concerned for you. Your precious health cannot endure the damp and cold of this imperial prison. It's easy for your legs to catch cold. Let's go back with Zhaoer." The Empress Dowager was touched and helped her up, when Qin Mayan spoke out to admonish her sternly, "Since when is it your place to comment on the imperial grandmother's affairs? If you have an injury, you should be resting well in the palace. Otherwise, if you get hurt again, whom will you blame?" Qin Mayan's eyes were sharp, scrutinizing Shen Yu as if he were an eagle eyeing its prey. Her appearance was truly strange. Chastised by Qin Mayan, Shen Yu felt both embarrassed and annoyed, yet she had to maintain a frail appearance. "Cousin is right to reprimand me, but Zhaoer is just worried about the imperial grandmother. The imperial grandmother is with your highness. What could possibly go wrong? Your intentions are rather odd. You've avoided the imperial grandmother for several days, to heal your injuries, and as soon as your highness brings her out of the palace, you hastily follow. What are you really up to?" Qin Mayan pressed her with question after question. Shen Yu was in utter turmoil but had to admit, Qin Mayan was indeed too astute. She showed no favor toward her cousin, treating her as an enemy, seeing right through her. If it weren't for Mu Fei's prior instruction, she would have revealed herself in front of Qin Mayan. Stabilizing her mind, she slowly raised her face, on the verge of speaking. "Imperial grandmother, Zhaoer is truly just worried about you. You. Zheng. My dear Zheng." The Empress Dowager, seeing Shen Ye's face, had her eyes immediately well up with tears. Wasn't this her cherished, coddled treasure, Zheng? Sending a dream lease, your face. Qin Mayan slightly furrowed his brow, feeling that Shen Yu had changed from before. Her face had undergone a great transformation, almost identical to Suingxue. How could this be? Imperial grandmother, Zhaoer is well aware of her lowly status, and that she cannot win cousin's favor, but Zhaoer is grateful for Imperial grandmother's kindness. I will accompany Imperial grandmother for life, with no regrets, just hoping that Imperial grandmother will take care of her health and not visit Suingxue again, not step into this damp and cold imperial prison and harm your health. Shen Yu wept with deep emotion, and with her face that was 99% similar to Su Yingshu's, the Empress Dowager's heart instantly turned to mush. She held Xinyu in her arms and wept, "I won't go. I won't go. No one can separate me from my child. Other than you, I will meet no one else." The Empress Dowager said this as she prepared to get into the carriage with Xinyu to return to the palace. "Imperial Grandmother, you clearly promised me that you would go see Su Yingxue." Qin Mayan blocked the way in front of the carriage, barring their path. "What are you doing? Zhao has not yet fully recovered, and I must accompany her back to the palace to rest." The Empress Dowager scolded Qin Mayan with a stern face. "Imperial Grandmother, you clearly what? It was a mistake for me to leave the palace with you. It's better not to see Su Yingxue. Let your imperial brother deal with her," the Empress Dowager said seriously. Seeing Qin Mayan refuse to give way, she glared at him and scolded coldly, "Are you now disregarding even my words for Su Yingshu's sake? Get out of my way." Qin Mayan held back a surge of frustration, stepping aside, but he was still not willing to let go, shouting at the carriage driving toward the imperial palace, "Imperial Grandmother, Yingxue is not a bad person, she is the best woman in the world." "The best woman?" Xinyu clenched her fist so tightly that her nails dug into her flesh, causing her palm to ache. Hearing these words, she wished she could kill Su Yingxue in the imperial prison right away. This wretched woman. How dare she compete with her for the princess identity and take away all of Qin Mayan's attention? Detestable. Truly detestable. Luckily, the Empress Dowager showed her pity, pulling her into her embrace, and Xinyu conveniently leaned against her knee. The Empress Dowager asked tenderly, "Zhao, why does your appearance seem to have changed after a few days not seeing you?" Mu Fei had already prepared a reason for Xinyu about the face-changing matter. Xinyu said as he had taught her, "I dare not deceive Imperial Grandmother, in these past days, I dreamt of my mother. In the dream, Mother pitied my solitary and miserable existence in the palace, and I told her it was because Su Yingxue resembled her more than I did, and hence I was treated so. Mother was angry and blamed herself for departing this world too early, causing me to endure such hardships. If she were still here, she would definitely protect me. She said she wanted to change my appearance to look exactly like her, so that no one could replace me." As Xinyu spoke, she lifted her tear-streaked face, showing her visage that greatly resembled Su Yingxue, close to the Empress Dowager's face. "When I woke up, I found that my appearance had changed. It was my mother's spirit in heaven, blessing me." Xinyu's pitiful state made the Empress Dowager even more heartbroken. She had originally not believed in spirits or Buddhism, but after Qin Jing went missing, she set up a Buddhist hall in the Funing Palace, praying daily, believing that as long as she was sincere, her Jing heir would definitely return. Xinyu's tale about the dream made her half believe, but after returning to Funing Palace, the chief maid reported to her, "Empress Dowager, something terrible has happened. The portrait of Princess Zheng in the Buddhist hall has been involved in an incident." "Kill Su Yingxue Elise, what has happened?" The Empress Dowager hurried over, supported by Xinyu on her side. In the hazy, incense-filled Buddhist hall, the portrait of Qin Jing, revered and treasured by the Empress Dowager, hung on the wall, had been mysteriously dampened. The face on the painting looked as if it had been crying. How could this be? The Empress Dowager commanded the painting be taken down, clutching it to her chest and weeping sorrowfully. "My Zheng heir, have you come to me in a dream? Are you worried Zhao is being bullied, so you cried?" "Mother, it's all my fault for not being able to stay with you all the time." Xinyu also began to cry miserably. After the incident in the Buddhist hall, the Empress Dowager's favoritism toward Xinyu grew even stronger. She not only bestowed all her treasures upon Xinyu but also allowed her to stay in the Funing Palace until her marriage, wanting her company every day. The Empress Dowager personally took care of Xinyu, administering medicine for her injuries, cherishing her like a treasure. Even Qin Ruli and Qin Guk showed exceptional affection towards Xinyu. For a time, Xinyu became the most esteemed person in the Great Way, unrivaled in prominence. Looking at the palace filled with bestowed treasures, Xinyu realized that all these rare and valuable items were things she had never seen before, not even daring to dream of them. She extended her hand to caress them, greed flickering despicably in her eyes. Her true nature was laid bare in an instant. Mu Fei walked in, fanning himself, and seeing her like this, he sneered, "Are you satisfied with just this?" Xinyu was startled, and she caressed her own smugly satisfied face subconsciously. What's there to be dissatisfied about? After a few days, I'll marry cousin, and then, I will not only be a princess of Great Way but also the noble princess of the Scarlet Flame King. Even the former identity of Su Yingxue can't compare to me. What a phoenix among people. Even the immortals would envy her, wouldn't they? With Su Yingxue still alive, why would you become the Scarlet Flame King's princess? Mu Fei mocked coldly. Chui Han is already on his way back. Once he reaches Su Yingxue's side and learns that she has been imprisoned, he will be furious. Even if it means going to war, Su Yingxue might consider the lives of the civilians, but Chui Han, that war-loving man, will not. If he attacks the Great Way capital, what use will your title as princess be? Or maybe he wants to avenge Su Yingxue. Don't forget, although you have her face, you are nothing but an impostor, and Su Yingxue is the real princess. Mu Fei reminded her coldly. Shen Ye's heart, which had been floating on clouds, suddenly plummeted down, shattering into pieces. Su Yingxue, how could I forget about her? She must die. She must die. Without her death, I can never hold legitimate title. Xinyu stamped her feet anxiously, but what can I do? Cousin is under some spell. He is inexplicably protective of Su Yingxue, and not even the imperial grandmother, my aunt, nor my older cousin can lay a finger on her. If Qin Mayan protects her, does that mean everyone else in Great Way is just for show? Just fake your death a few more times, and the Empress Dowager and Emperor, for your sake, will have no choice but to order Su Yingxue's execution. Mu Fei's voice, tinted with a cold edge, drifted by her ear. Xinyu clenched her teeth. He wanted her to hurt herself again. She had already suffered enough pain after falling from the building. But on second thought, if she didn't get rid of Su Yingxue, she would never be secure in her position as princess. The man she loved, Qin Mayan, only had eyes and heart for that wretched Su Yingxue. She couldn't continue like this any longer. According to Mu Fei's suggestion, Xinyu caused 2 disruptions, using her mother's supposed visitations in dreams, claiming that if Su Yingxue lived, she would continuously torment her, infuriating the Empress Dowager who directly ordered Su Yingxue's execution. The truth revealed Lise, Qin Mayan hadn't neglected to intervene, but this time, even Qin Ruli didn't help him. Qin Ruli had his men block him, then they brought Su Yingxue into the imperial palace, saying they were going to kill Su Yingxue in front of Xinyu to put her at ease. When Xinyu saw Su Yingxue, her head covered with a black cloth and still struggling desperately, a mocking curve formed on her lips. Su Yingxue, you too have reached this day, yet you're still going to die before me. She remembered when she first encountered Su Yingxue in the street. She was dressed in shabby clothes while Su Yingxue was resplendent and noble, like a fairy from the heavens. Even though she saved her father and gave her money, she refused to help her any further. She knew very well that her family was poor. She said she was fated due to their likeness, yet she stubbornly refused to see her again or offer her some wealth and honor. If only on that day outside the Marquis Manor she had been a little kinder to her, treated her like a sister. She would not have needed to come and compete with her for the identity of the princess, nor would she have thought of putting her to death. This was all the karma Su Yingxue had brought on herself. Shen Yu was elated, feeling no shame for her actions. The Empress Dowager stood in the courtyard, her eyes sharp as daggers. Come, make your move, kill this person, to appease my Jing heir's spirit in heaven. Qin Gu watched the scene unfold before him, feeling somewhat reluctant. Mother, after all, Su Yingxue is the 9th princess consort. If Chu Yihan knew we killed her, I fear it might provoke a war between the two nations. It was one thing for Su Yingxue to die, but Chu Yihan was not someone to be trifled with. His reputation as the god of war of the 9 provinces was known to all. But the Empress Dowager was exceptionally resolute. The men of the Great Wei dynasty are brave and skilled in battle. Why would we be afraid of Chu Yihan? Come, make your move. There, Su Yingxue, gripped by the executioner, continued to struggle, unable to make a sound. The executioner sprayed white liquor on the blade, raised his hand, and the blade fell. Poochie, blood splattered everywhere. Su Yingxue's head severed from her body, her brain exploding outwards. Mu Fei was also in the Funing Palace, witnessing this scene with his own eyes. At the moment of Su Yingxue's death, the blood splashed onto his face, and his heart was exceptionally pleased. He couldn't help but burst out laughing loudly. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. His laughter was so loud that it drew everyone's attention. Shen Yu, finding Mu Fei's behavior strange, scolded him. What are you laughing at? In front of the imperial grandmother, you shall not be unrestrained. She thought to herself, what madness had Mu Fei succumbed to this time? She knew he was not normal, but she hadn't expected him to be this abnormal. Even if he was happy about Su Yingxue's death, he should be quietly pleased, not laughing out loud before everyone. Especially since the Empress Dowager's narrowed eyes were now fixed on him. Mu Fei, you lowly commoner, dare to be so impudent in front of me. Mu Fei wiped away the tears of laughter from his eyes and looked at the Empress Dowager with a mocking stature. Why shouldn't I dare be impudent? You old coot, I've long wanted to laugh at you. Now, I can do so openly and honorably. Impudence. Someone capture him for me. Qin Gu bellowed, bold ruffian, my mother holds such a revered status, how dare you insult her so? Revered? Just an old hag who killed her own granddaughter, what is there to revere? Is it because she's going blind or perhaps she's lost her brain? Mu Fei brandished his fan arrogantly, his delicate face growing increasingly inscrutable and bewitching. Mu Fei, you must stop speaking nonsense. Shen Yu was startled by Mu Fei. Had he gone mad? How could he say such things in public? This was outright exposing her true identity. The one who died is not Su Yingxue Elise. Mu Fei didn't take Shen Yu seriously at all. He approached the Empress Dowager, his expression gloomy, the smile on his lips wicked. Old hag, do you realize that the person you killed was actually your real granddaughter? What are you talking about? Qin Ge's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Mother's granddaughter is clearly Zhao Er. How could it be Su Yingxue? After mulling over the events of the past few days and being reminded by Mu Fei, Qin Ge felt a chill down her spine. Has the eldest princess forgotten my voice already? The blood they swapped. Mu Fei deliberately lowered his voice, which rang out like a bell in Qin Ge's mind. Her eyes suddenly widened. It's you. Mu Fei. The voice I heard that day, it was yours. Was it you who made me switch their blood? That is to say, Su Yingxue was actually her sister's daughter. This Zhao Hua is fake. And her. Had she become an accomplice to Mu Fei and Zhao Hua? She helped them. And killed Su Yingxue. No. Qin Gu was so frightened by this realization that her legs trembled. If this was true, how could she face her sister? Mother, this Mu Fei must be mad. Qin Gu, was somewhat panicked and wanted to have Mu Fei dragged away. However, the Empress Dowager's eyes narrowed slightly as she stared at Mu Fei. Continue. I want to see what else you have to say. The calmness of the Empress Dowager at this moment was beyond Mu Fei's expectations, but as he looked at the corpse on the ground, he was fearless, considering that it would break your old heart and you'd die from sorrow. I don't mind telling you, it was I who used drugs to make the eldest princess have hallucinations. She personally switched the blood of Su Yingxue and Shen Yu, leading to that misunderstood scene. The truth spoken by Mu Fei shattered Qin Ge's heart. She bitterly bit her teeth, filled with regret. Sister, I am sorry. She had actually done such a thing, caused such a huge misunderstanding, and killed Su Yingxue. So this shower by my side is fake, and Su Yingxue is the real one. The Empress Dowager's breathing hastened slightly as she grabbed Shen Yu's hand, facing Mu Fei. Shen Yu panicked. Imperial grandmother, don't believe his slanderous words, this Mu Fei, he's a lunatic. He's a man from the ghost market, how can his words be trusted? Shen Yu knelt in front of the Empress Dowager, crying pitifully and miserably. Shower is your true granddaughter. Hasn't my mother often come to you in dreams recently, asking you to take good care of me, to not let me suffer anymore? The Empress Dowager looked down at her. Those eyes which were once kind now emanated an unprecedented oppression. Young girl, I have never dreamed of your mother. Never dreamed of her, how could that be? You miss your daughter so much, you must have dreamed of my mother. Shen Yu shook her head in panic and disbelief. Was she deceived by this old woman, the Empress Dowager? Mu Fei's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing something was amiss from the Empress Dowager's reaction. He stepped back, grabbed the head lying on the ground that had been chopped off, and forcefully pulled off the black cloth to reveal the face of an unfamiliar woman. This isn't Su Yingxue. Mu Fei's beautiful eyebrows furrowed tightly. You old witch, you had a premeditated plan. It wasn't Su Yingxue who died. He had been tricked. What? Su Yingxue is not dead. How can this be? Shen Yu's eyes widened as she crawled towards Mu Fei and snatched the head he was holding to take a closer look. Mu Fei escapes lease, you old hag. Mu Fei gritted his teeth, never expecting the Empress Dowager to be of such an advanced age and ill to boot, yet still possess such meticulous cunning. It was truly detestable. How dare you be so insolent? Qin Mayan, knife pointed at Mu Fei, said, You claim to be of the Great Wei dynasty, but who are you really to dare to oppose the imperial family, deceive my imperial grandmother, and plot against my cousin? Ha! Mu Fei scoffed, his eyes brimming with contempt. Qin Gu came back to her senses at his laugh. It was you who used me, you almost made me kill my sister's daughter. Thinking back on it made Qin Ge's heart tremble uncontrollably. Looking at Su Yingxue, who was alive before her, she couldn't help but shed tears. I'm sorry, Auntie almost caused your death. Auntie, you needn't blame yourself, you too were deeply harmed by them. The ones who harm others are these people with wicked hearts. Having said that, Su Yingxue drew her red jade soft whip and attacked Mu Fei. Mu Fei swiftly dodged, exhibiting exceptional lightness skill. Qin Mayan, from behind him, struck out, the blade whooshed through the air and, with a loud slash, opened a gash across Mu Fei's back. Damn it! Mu Fei glared at the two of them, his eyes bloodshot. Now he couldn't kill Su Yingxue, but his vengeance must be exacted. He risked the danger of encountering Qin Mayan's blade and attacked the Empress Dowager. A white powder flew from his sleeves, spreading towards the Empress Dowager like a fog. Grandmother, hold your breath. Don't inhale. Su Yingxue shouted loudly, but it was already too late. The Empress Dowager inhaled a large amount of the white powder, and even Qin Gu inhaled quite a bit. Both of them collapsed to the ground and passed out. Imperial Grandmother. Mother. Qin Mayan quickly ran to their side and helped them up. He did not forget to instruct the palace guards behind him, "Someone come, capture this traitor, don't let him escape." Having bought some time by engaging Su Yingxue and Qin Mayan, Mu Fei quickly left the imperial palace and returned to the dilapidated Mu family estate. This place was originally his home, but it had been destroyed after the family was raided. Jing, carrying a tray of freshly baked pastries, saw Mu Fei return and excitedly held them up to him. "Master, I made these today. They should taste better than yesterday's. Please try them, master. Put them down, and come with me." Mu Fei grasped Jing's hand tightly, his eyes deep in thought as if pondering something. A fleeting look of guilt crossed Jing's face. Had the master noticed something? She had secretly added something to the pastries. "Put them down quickly." Mu Fei moved to throw away the pastries she made, but Jing protected them in her arms as if they were treasures. "Master, please, don't throw them away. Jing will eat them to show you." She wolfed down 2 pieces of the pastries, mumbling unclearly, "See, master, they really do taste much better. Please, just try them." If it were any other female slave, Mu Fei would have smashed the pastries and killed her. Such a waste of time. But seeing the hope brimming in Jing's eyes, Mu Fei took the remaining pastries and rapidly ate them all. He had already delayed for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. "All right, I've eaten them, now hurry up." He pulled Jing with him towards the hidden passage in the house, which led directly to the ghost market. Once back in the ghost market, not even Qin Mayan could do anything to him. But there was a strange atmosphere in the secret passage. Mu Fei had many highly skilled martial arts slaves to protect him. Someone from the other end of the passage came to report, "Master, it's not good, the passage has been destroyed. Master, you must return." He ran away now, even if he wanted to show affection for Su Yingxue, he felt it was too late. "Yes, mother. You kept this from me too. You have no idea, I thought Yingxue was harmed by my hand. I nearly died of shame, wanting to take my own life to see my sister. If she knew from the underworld that Yingxue nearly suffered due to my misunderstanding, how could I face being her sister?" Qin Gu also expressed some complaints. The Empress Dowager heaved a sigh, and Su Yingxue quickly comforted her, "Cousin and auntie, if you want to blame someone, blame me. It was my idea. When grandmother came to see me, she already knew my identity. I asked her not to tell. The purpose was to see what Mu Fei was truly after. He is truly too strange." Qin Mayan added, "Yes, Mu Fei is a man of the ghost market, yet he's profoundly knowledgeable about the affairs of the Great Wei dynasty. There weren't many privy to the inside story of little Auntie's disappearance back then, and his knowledge about Yingxu's identity and finding the blue scale jade. He's no simple character. I intended to rid the Great Wei dynasty of this cancer, so I had no choice but to keep it a secret from mother and imperial brother for a time, and ask the imperial grandmother to act in a play with us. You too. You and Yingxue, you really do make a good team. Your knees must be swollen from all the kneeling." Qin Gu teased Qin Mayan, causing Su Yingxue to notice his legs. To lure Shen Yu and Mu Fei into his trap, Qin Mayan truly knelt outside Funing Palace for 2 days and nights without food or water. It was only because he had practiced martial arts from a young age and had a strong physical foundation that he felt all right. Seeing Qin Mayan's complexion was still somewhat pale, Su Yingxue gave him a pill. "I made this, it's a medicine that benefits qi and enriches blood. Cousin, please take it first." Her address of cousin stirred something deep within Qin Mayan's heart. His handsome brows and eyes relaxed slightly. "Okay." He took it without hesitation, as if even if Su Yingxue's offering had been poison, he would have consumed it like candy. Su Yingxue also took out several precious vials of golden wound medicine and handed them to Nurse Fu, instructing her to apply it to Qin Mayan's legs. Seeing her so courteous, Qin Gu couldn't help but cover her mouth and giggle lightly. Now that you have recognized kinship, Yingxue, you need not be so formal. Mu Yan is your cousin. Even if you were to apply the medicine to him yourself, he wouldn't resist. Qin Mayan's ears reddened, and he put on a stern face. Mother, do not spout nonsense. Mother is simply stating the truth. Qin Gut smiled slightly. Even Qin Ruli laughed heartily. Auntie is definitely not wrong. You and your cousin were originally betrothed. Cousin, Auntie, I'm sorry. This marriage contract, I'm afraid I cannot fulfill. I am already wed to the 9th prince, my husband is Chui Han, so, cousin can only be cousin, Su Yingxue said gently, yet her message was clear. She could be Qin Mayan's kin, but she could not be his wife. With her words, Qin Ruli and Qin Gu found themselves in a somewhat awkward position, and Qin Mayan's expression also subtly darkened. He mocked himself internally. Indeed, no matter the circumstances, her heart held only her husband, her Chui Han. Alright, let's focus on the serious matters for now. Has that Mu Fei been caught? Has Shinyu been interrogated? Just how did she collude with Mu Fei? I must get to the bottom of this. From the bed, the heavy and aged voice of the Empress Dowager urged them. Qin Ruli immediately ordered someone to report on the efforts to capture Mu Fei. Wei Juefeng returned in a rush, kneeling on one knee, reporting to the Emperor and Your Highness, Mu Fei, he has a secret passage and he escaped. The master won't harm me, Lise. Chui Han pulled her back. Be careful of deceit. He and this female slave have something strange going on. Chui Han slightly furrowed his brows. Throughout the journey earlier, Mu Fei had been protectively guarding this female slave, and now he brought up Su Yingxue, as if he were waiting for her arrival. He couldn't allow Su Yingxue to come any closer. Your Highness, Jing is someone who has shared life and death with me. She's still young and a simple-minded child at heart, Su Yingxue pleaded with her lips tightened, her concern evident. If it weren't for being sold to the ghost market and falling into Mu Fei's hands, how could she have become a female slave? She should be living like any other normal girl. Chui Han shook his head. This female slave is Mu Fei's bargaining chip, he's waiting for you. Chui Han informed Su Yingxue, who clenched her teeth in force. Mu Fei, you insidious villain, you had planned this all along, didn't you? You intended to use Jing, right? Of course. Why else would I sell this slave for no reason, keeping her by my side the entire time? Su Yingxue, you are a person of deep emotions and loyalty. A young girl who has shared life and death with you and is obedient, you wouldn't bear to let her just die like this, would you? Mu Fei's eyes sparked a cold, sly smile as he concealed the schemes deep in his gaze. No, not like this. Jing's neck was almost being crushed as she shook her head in tears. She couldn't believe her master would use her. He wouldn't. The master had always been so kind to her. He was kind to her. Jing, don't be afraid, I will save you. Su Yingxue spoke to comfort her, then glared at Mu Fei. You think you can use Jing to escape? Do you think you could get away? Chui Han's shadow guards had heavily surrounded the area, and countless imperial guards of Qin Ruli were guarding outside Yingdu. Even if Mu Fei grew wings, he would not be able to fly back to the ghost market. You only have two choices, let this young girl accompany me in death, or let me go, otherwise. Mu Fei laughed menacingly, increasing the strength in his hand as he lifted Jing off the ground by her neck. Master. Jing's little face twisted in pain as she let out a pitiful whimper, begging Mu Fei for mercy. A flicker of reluctance passed through Mu Fei's eyes, but his hands persisted in tightening their grip. Don't. Su Yingxue gritted her teeth in anger. Fine, I'll let you go, but you must release Ah Jing, let go of her now. Su Yingxue turned and grabbed Chu Yihan's hand, a hint of urgency in her gaze. Saving Ah Jing is what matters most. Capturing Mu Fei was not a difficult task. Qin Ruli's reach didn't extend to the ghost market, but she and Chu Yihan could upend the ghost market and drag Mu Fei out if needed. Chu Yihan nodded in agreement, all right. Her requests, he would never refuse. Mu Fei, let Ah Jing go. Su Yingxue yelled at him. Mu Fei quietly breathed a sigh of relief, his eyes holding an apology, then raised his hand and threw Ah Jing out. If Su Yingxue hadn't caught Ah Jing, the girl would have smashed into the rocks and undoubtedly shattered to pieces. But Mu Fei had carefully controlled the force in his hands, only turning to flee after seeing Su Yingxue catch Ah Jing. Chu Yihan waved his hand to give the order, chase. Yes, Your Highness. Mo Qi led a group of shadow guards and swiftly pursued. In the night, Su Yingxue held Ah Jing. Seeing her neck bruised and purplish from Mu Fei's strangling, she spat out in disdain, scum. Not even sparing you. Ah Jing's lips quivered, unable to speak, but in her heart, she knew, master would not harm me. Her master was the kindest person in the whole world to her. Su Yingxue and Chu Yihan together took the people back. The godlike grandson-in-law Lise, Nanny Fu brought over 2 goose feather pillows, which Su Yingxue used to prop up the imperial grandmother. Seeing her so diligent and busy, the imperial grandmother's eyes filled with even more affection. My precious granddaughter, you truly are wonderful. Su Yingxue nestled in her lap and acted like a spoiled child. Grandma, and my dear heart. The imperial grandmother gently patted her head and, noticing Chu Yihan standing not far away, smiled and waved him over. Grandson-in-law, come here and let this old woman take a good look at you. The title of grandson-in-law brought a noticeable ease to Chu Yihan's expression. He approached the imperial grandmother and bowed slightly. Greetings, imperial grandmother. Ah, such a good child. I must take a good look, my celestial grandson-in-law. What a wonderful person you are. The imperial grandmother had Nanny Fu bring over a frame with 2 lenses attached, which had 2 small claws at the back to hook over the ears, positioning the lenses directly in front of her eyes. Her blurry vision instantly became clear. Before her stood an astonishingly handsome man whose features seemed meticulously crafted by the heavens themselves, exuding an aura of someone destined to rule the world. His dark eyes were like glaze, cool and profound, sparking curiosity in others to delve into their profound depths. Standing tall, he was a cut above other men. The imperial grandmother thought to herself that in all of the Great Wei dynasty, only Qin Mayan could compare to Chu Yihan, but Chu Yihan possessed a temperament distinct from the impulsive and stubborn Qin Mayan. Having carefully observed Chu Yihan, the imperial grandmother had only one thought: this man should reign over the 4 seas, unite the world under his rule. He was, without a doubt, an emperor. Her beloved granddaughter had married such a rare man, and she was extremely satisfied, her smile warm and kindly. Good, what a good child. She extended her hand toward Chu Yihan. Seeing her hands tremble, Chu Yihan quickly supported them. Imperial grandmother, be careful. Considerate and meticulous, excellent. With one hand holding Chu Yihan's and the other Su Yingxue's, the imperial grandmother, her eyes crinkled with wrinkles, was brimming with satisfaction. All these years of worry were not in vain. You two are doing quite well. Chu Yihan and Su Yingxue stayed by the imperial grandmother's side as she inquired about Qin Jing, also known as Long Shuli. Leaning against the couch, she looked wishful. After Zheng left Great Wei, she changed her name to Long Shuli. Su Yingxue nodded. Yes, Grandma, Mother is the genius doctor of the Great Qing dynasty, and was also named Princess Shuli by the former emperor. Her medical skills are unmatched in the world. truly impressive. Su Yingxue painted the glorious life of Long Shuli, and the imperial grandmother listened quietly. She had not expected her Jing heir to be so remarkable. Just listening brought tears to her eyes, but why hasn't she ever returned to Great Way to see me? Does she know how I've cried my heart out for her? The former emperor had died early, and she doted on this youngest daughter as if she were her heart and treasure. Yet who would have thought, during that year's reunion, when the Imperial Guard failed to protect her, she was taken captive, and then disappeared all these years. Su Yingxue looked on as the Imperial grandmother wept, feeling heartache yet daring not to tell her at this moment that when Qin Jing was taken by Wu Dao, she had already been killed, and Long Shuli was not Qin Jing. As she hesitated, Chu Yihan spoke clearly. My mother-in-law lost her memory after she was taken away. She had forgotten her hometown and relatives. If not for a twist of fate, Yingxue would have found it very difficult to return to Great Way, but fortunately, all ended well. Charging at her in front of Grandma Lise, Your Highness never resented her. She can sleep in as long as she wishes. Chu Yihan shared a smile with the Empress Dowager while sipping tea, leaving the palace maids of Funing Palace utterly bewitched. In this world, how could there be such a breathtakingly handsome man? Standing at the door and witnessing this scene, Su Yingxue instantly ran to the Empress Dowager's side to act charmingly. Grandmother, it's not that I deliberately indulged in sleep, it's all your Highness' fault. Su Yingxue shot Chu Yihan a glare. Who was the one toying around all night? Could you really blame her for sleeping so soundly? The Empress Dowager tapped her little granddaughter fondly, her eyes showing nothing but indulgence. You, just like your mother, are a bit mischievous. Yihan has been so lenient toward you. Even my cousin's Empress has never slept until the midday meal as you do, and he adores her immensely. The Empress is the mother to a nation. Of course, she needs to take on more hardships. But I don't have to. As Su Yingxue spoke, the sight of a table full of her favorite dishes had her ready to dive in. However, she still glanced at the Empress Dowager, who smiled and picked up a chopstick full of food for her. Here, have some, my dearest. All these dishes were selected by Yihan himself. He cares deeply about everything that concerns you. I can't find a single fault in that. Back when the Empress Dowager considered Xinyu as her granddaughter, she constantly worried about not being able to find a good family that would serve her with minute and thoughtful attention at all times. Later, when she began to pay attention to her marriage with Qin Mayan, she fretted somewhat. Qin Mayan was an unrestrained man, and when it came to attending to women, he hardly had much care. It wasn't until now, with Su Yingxue being recognized, and seeing how well Chu Yihan treated her, that she could finally be at ease. In this world, there was no second man who could be as good to Su Yingxue as Chu Yihan was. Even when it came to Qin Mayan, with her understanding of him as his imperial grandmother, he probably could not match Yihan's attentiveness. Empress Dowager, that Xinyu has been clamoring to see you, the Empress Dowager's trustworthy nanny whispered at her side. The Empress Dowager's expression darkened slightly as she set down her chopsticks, sighing softly. Ah, this child, grandmother, Xinyu has a wicked heart and isn't worth your pity. You needn't trouble yourself over her anymore. Leave the handling of this matter to me, Su Yingxue volunteered. But, after all, she has served me for days on end, and since her return to the Great Way several months ago, every time she enjoyed my company at my knees, I felt she was still a dutiful child, even though she did what she did to you in order to retain her status. In the Empress Dowager's eyes, there was still a hint of reluctance. Grandmother, do you still remember her birth parents? Her parents. I'm not sure why they left the palace, and I didn't inquire much about them, the Empress Dowager replied. At the time, she was only concerned with having Mu Fei look after Xinyu. Now that she thought about it, those two must have been taken away by Mu Fei. Su Yingxue remarked, it's likely they've already met with misfortune. Mu Fei is a ruthless person, he wouldn't have left them be. Shin Yu, who would even betray her own birth parents, doesn't deserve your kindness. In her heart, the Empress Dowager still harbored a sliver of hope for Shin Yu. This lasted until Qin Mayan came to Funing Palace looking for Su Yingxue. Qin Mayan paid his respects to the Empress Dowager and also notified Qin Ruli to hurry over. Seeing their tense expressions, the Empress Dowager asked, "My dear Mu Yen, what has happened? Have you caught that Mu Fei yet? I must thoroughly question him." Catching Mu Fei lease, it's not that. Mu Fei is being pursued by people from the Ninth Prince, and it seems he won't escape. Grandson has come to report to you another matter, which is about Mu Fei's background. Qin Mayan said in a low voice. Oh. Who exactly is Mu Fei, and what grudge does he have with the Great Wei dynasty that he must put Yingxue in a deadly situation? Qin Ruli's brows were knitted with rage. Qin Mayan solemnly said, he is the successor to the Imperial Guard commander, originally the young master of the Mu family. The Imperial Guard commander. Mu Ruffing. The Empress Dowager's expression instantly became lucid. An incident from over 20 years ago surfaced in her mind, and she muttered, that year, the Imperial Guard lost Jing Heir, and in my rage, I ordered the execution of the entire Mu family, including the Imperial Guard commander Mu Ruffing. That Mu Fei, so that's it. Grandmother ordered the extermination of the entire Mu family back then. Mu Fei escaped, and ended up in the ghost market. That's why he wants to target me and grandmother, to have grandmother kill me by her own hand as revenge. The pieces fell into place in Su Yingxue's mind. Bang! Qin Ruli slammed his fist on the table, full of fury. Damnable. The loss of our young aunt was originally due to the negligence of the Imperial Guard commander. Having narrowly escaped death, he still dares to seek perverse revenge. I will have Mu Fei torn apart by 5 horses to set an example. Qin Mayan also said in a cold voice, Mu Fei truly deserves death. If Imperial Grandmother or Yingxue suffer the slightest harm, Your Highness will ensure he never recovers. We'll talk about that after he's caught. Compared to the indignation of the Qin Mayan brothers, Chui Han was exceptionally calm. He picked up the teacup in his hand, took a sip, and remarked, he should be back soon. Master, Mu Fei has been captured. When Mo Chi came to report at Funing Palace and knelt down, he said, Mu Fei did not make it back to the ghost market before being intercepted by Pavilion Master's men. Your subordinate succeeded in capturing him. Chui Han nodded and turned to Su Yingxue, this person, I'll leave his fate to you. Before Su Yingxue could speak, Qin Mayan angrily said, leave him to your highness. After I torture him to death, I'll crush his bones and scatter his ashes. Wait, your highness, please hand him over to me. I want to see him. There are some questions I'd like to ask. Su Yingxue persuaded. Qin Mayan, who was normally fierce and impetuous in all things, became inexplicably gentle in response to Su Yingxue's request. All right, he's yours. After Su Yingxue nodded her thanks, she returned to Chu Yihan's side. Chu Yihan took her to the old Mu residence. The answers you're looking for might be found here. Su Yingxue smiled, hubby knows me best. With nobody around, Su Yingxue felt at ease calling him hubby. The old Mu residence had suffered a great calamity years ago and was in ruins, a testament to the grim past. The Imperial Guard was the royal family's defense, and back then, the Mu family was a noble family. They were executed for losing the young princess, and Mu Fei was innocent in that regard. However, this could not justify his becoming so ruthless and vicious later on. Su Yingxue found several rooms that had been lived in, some traces of being tidied up, and one room that should have been Mu Fei's bedroom. Mo Chi was still in this bedroom and had found several dresses that belonged to girls, which he found quite distasteful. This man's tastes really are strange. He looks like a woman and even wears women's dresses. Suing Shue was grossed out by seeing these dresses as well. Only Chui Han glanced at the dresses and said indifferently, "These are not Mu Fei's." "Then whose are they?" Suing Shue asked with a puzzled face. Could it be that there is someone else as twisted as him around Mu Fei? The human swine of Shen's father and mother Lise, you forgot about that young girl by his side. Chui Han poked Su Yingshu's forehead. Ah Jing. Su Yingshu remembered and cursed Mu Fei again. Ah Jing is pure-hearted, yet Mu Fei exploited her to use as leverage to threaten me into escaping, utterly despicable. Chui Han didn't quite see it that way, but he hadn't settled on a conclusion. When they found the place where the firewood was kept, Mo Chi went in first to take a look, then came out and said, "It's quite disgusting inside, Princess, perhaps you should not go in." He almost threw up. Is it full of human pigs? Princess is as insightful as a deity. Mo Chi was somewhat impressed. The strong smell of alcohol inside led him to think there might be a cellar hidden within. But who would have known that once inside, he would see a series of wine jars, each containing a paralyzed person, all blinded and deafened, steeping alive in medicinal liquor. They could hardly be called human anymore. In that room of human pigs, Su Yingshu identified two familiar faces. She pointed and said, "Take these two back to the palace and present them to Xinyu." Mo Chi did as she instructed. In the end, Su Yingshu went to the imperial prison to see Mu Fei. This place was as secure as a fortress of copper walls and iron barriers, and Su Yingshu was not worried he could escape. With Chu Yihan's shadow guards watching outside, even with Mu Fei's high martial arts skills, escape was impossible. But when Su Yingshu arrived, Mu Fei looked at her with scorn, as though he had been waiting for her. "You come at this hour. You've seen Shenye's parents already, and moved them back to the palace, right?" Mu Fei's sneer was chilling, his voice sinister like a demon from hell. He was covered in heavy shackles but appeared utterly fearless. Su Yingshu sat before him, her expression calm. "Because the imperial grandmother killed your entire family, you endured in the ghost market all these years, just to plan your next moves, to either kill the imperial grandmother or have her kill me?" "Yes." Mu Fei scoffed coldly, "Too bad you are really too troublesome, otherwise, that old woman would now be among those in the wine jar, and I would peel a piece of her flesh every single day, cutting for 365 days, making her life worse than death. Such pain would avenge the death of his whole family." "No. Even that is not enough. The imperial family of the Great Wei dynasty must die. They must all die, to join my Mu family, to join my parents and siblings in a mass grave." Mu Fei leaned against the wall, laughing maniacally, his eyes, once handsome, now bloodshot and wild. The Imperial Guard failed in their duty, grandmother became furious, perhaps she went too far, but you, having narrowly escaped death, should have lived properly, to continue the bloodline of your Mu family. But what have you become? How many times has your face been cut? Su Yingshu's brows furrowed, her lips curling into a mocking smile. "Live well." Mu Fei laughed as if he heard the funniest joke, "Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Live well. How does a slave live well in that sunless place of the ghost market?" He pointed to his own face, his sharp fingernails digging into the flesh, drawing a deep wound. As if feeling no pain, he was lost in his memories. "Indeed, my face has been cut by many knives, so many that I've lost count. Because that woman disliked my original appearance, only by changing to suit her preferences could I earn her favor, could I survive. Those years, my face was continuously under the knife, many times I almost went blind, mad. But I dared not die. I feared that if I died, when I met my parents below, they would scold me for being so useless. Even vengeance for them, I could not achieve. Beg me 5 lis, have you been so free recently? Have you already finished your work? Bai Minghan glared at him angrily. Huang Fuyi immediately shook his head. No, I will go and complete it immediately. Huang Fuyi really didn't know what happened with his elder brother. He wasn't annoyed just now when he was rambling, but why does his mood change now when he speaks about Xiao Si and his first love's reunion? Did he get into trouble again? Arguing with Qingxin. Huang Fuyi stood up to leave. He was sure, if he didn't leave, he would eventually get trashed by his elder brother. Stop! Bai Minghan halted him. Huang Fuyi was about to open the office door, but once his elder brother had given orders, he could only obey. He turned around, forcing a smile, asked, "Older brother, any other order?" "Join me for a drink." Bai Minghan stood up, took his coat and headed out. Should we call second brother too? Knowing that something had happened, Wagafuyi obliged, as drinking during the day was definitely not his elder brother's style, it was more like his own. He did not dare to resist and quickly ran to catch up. After having dinner by herself, Gu Qingxin returned to her small bedroom. She felt a slight pain in her abdomen, pulled out a bottle of medicine from her bag, poured out a pill from it and swallowed it. Placing the medicine bottle back into her bag, she changed into her pajamas and went to take a bath. Warm water cascaded down over her head. She closed her eyes, enjoying the warmth of the water. The door was suddenly flung open and before Gu Qingxin could open her eyes, she was pressed against the cold tiles. Opening her eyes, she saw Bai Minghan's eyes, as black as a wolf's. And reeking of alcohol, again. The water dripping from above soaked his hair, running down his adamant face, and dripped off his chin, as he pinned her against the wall. Gu Qingxin quickly bit her lip and looked away. Bai Minghan grabbed her chin, forcing her to look up. His lips, reeking of alcohol, came crashing down on hers. Gu Qingxin angrily pushed him away, but he only kissed her more forcefully. Bai Minghan pressed her tightly against the cold tiles and claimed her. From the bathroom to the bedroom, Gu Qingxin didn't know how many times he took her. Although he wasn't as brutal as last night, she still felt exhausted. Bai Minghan placed her on the bed, leaned down and kissed the tattoo on her lower abdomen. Gu Qingxin lay there, gasping. It seemed as if he was doing it on purpose, imprinting every inch of her body with his mark. The next day, Gu Qingxin was going to school when the bodyguard stopped her, saying that from today onward, she was forbidden to leave North Garden under the young master's orders. Gu Qingxin thought she had heard wrong. Was this Bai Minghan's intention to imprison her again? She took out her phone and dialed Bai Minghan's number, but the one who answered was Lian Qingrua. "I need to speak to Bai Minghan, it's urgent." Gu Qingxin held the phone tightly, the anger inside her causing her chest to rise and fall rapidly. "Miss Gu, the CEO is in a meeting right now and can't be disturbed. Why don't you call him back after the meeting?" "Gu Qingxin, I'm allowed to go to the Xingming Corporation at least, right?" Gu Qingxin, annoyed, looked at the bodyguards beside her. Both of them exchanged glances, but none dared to decide. One of them took out his phone to call Yi Qi, asking for instructions. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.